Yo, what's up YouTube? In this video I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to pick a drop spot that works well for you and plays to your strengths and kind of avoids your weaknesses. So if you don't know me, I'm Choose. I've been playing the game for a while. This is my last 5 solo open Cash Cup qualifiers, so I think it's fair to say I've been jumping out of the bus recently. In this video, I'm going to go over the 5 factors that you should consider when you're picking a drop spot so that you can play to your strengths by choosing either A or B on 5 different factors so you can pick the best drop spot for you. So I'm on fortnite.gg right now, which is the best website to pick your drop spot because it shows everything on the map. And let's get into it. Okay, the first factor you should consider for your drop spot is if it's a fair fight or if it's drop based. And drop based meaning that whoever gets there first is going to win pretty much every time, and fair fight meaning that there's like both people are gonna get a gun. It's gonna actually come down to a fight. So an example of a fair fight would be like a POI where people are gonna land on different houses and then you're gonna fight. You can make a strategy, stuff like that. It's generally gonna take longer to fight off spawn, which is a big downside that I don't like about it. Versus a drop based spot, you're really gonna win if you outdrop your opponent, which is good if you're very good at dropping. It means that the off spawn fight is gonna be short. For example, a spot I've been landing at is this house here. Whoever gets in the door first is going to be able to hit the zip line and is usually gonna win the spot. It's kind of a bad example because people will run through the bridge and through the door, but you get the point. Whoever's dropping here first is usually gonna win the spot. I personally prefer drop based landing spots because the off spawn fights are quick. You're not going to waste any time in a fight off spawn and then lose that time that you could be in a game. It's going to go really fast. You can practice your drop spot, dropping for it, so you can be prepared and like rarely lose off spawn, which is great. Versus at a fair fight spot, some people, if you're a really confident fighter, you probably want to go for a fair fight spot. You're going to be able to get some more kills off spawn, but you have to be confident, know the POI well, and that could work for you as well. So consider that first factor. The next factor is going to be, is your spot isolated or is there potential for swerves? And by swerving, I mean if you're getting outdropped, you can swerve midair and go somewhere else. So the advantages of swerving is just that, is that you're getting outdropped, you can go somewhere else. However, that does not mean you're going to get the spot that you try to swerve to, and also it means your spot is potentially going to be third-partied. So let's find a spot that has a lot of swerve potential. I would say this down here has a solid amount of swerve potential because people can swerve for the chest up here or this house or this beach or even just the cooler and loot down here. So that means that if you're dropping for here and you're not confident at dropping, you could have a lot of potential to swerve away, which could be good, but getting these other spots is not guaranteed. At the same time, even if you do win this spot, because there's a lot of stuff around you, these spots can third party you, which is going to potentially ruin some of your games, especially if your off spawn fight takes a little bit of time. Whoever loots these spots that could be swerved to will come in and third party it, which can be a major problem. I personally prefer isolated spots because the getting third partied off spawn is the worst, and it's just way better that way. Here's an example of an isolated spot. The only cluster of loot near it is Hazy Hillside, which realistically is not going to push in, and then there's this house here, which again, not going to push it in time to third party your off spawn fight. Another isolated spot would maybe be down here, like there's not much around it. Alright, the next factor to consider is going to be, is your spot center or edge? This is pretty simple, pretty obvious, center being anywhere on the inland and edge being the edge of the map. The advantages of center, you don't have to rotate nearly as far in general. Like if you're to land ruin reels, you probably don't have to move for the first couple of zones of the game. Which can be a big advantage. However, that also means that if you don't get enough loot off spawn, there's not really anywhere to go from center. You can try to reloot around center. It's probably going to be not a great time. Versus on edge, you kind of generally have a better time relooting stuff. Like if you land up here somewhere, you can just go around the edge checking every POI. You can even play Storm and then reloot a named POI. Just because your edge, there's not going to be as many people there. You're going to have a better time relooting. However, on edge, you are going to have to rotate more, and especially like in Surge games, it's not a good time because whoever's ahead of you can just hold you from hills, mountains, whatever. But in general, for most people, Surge is going to be a problem, and playing edge is fine, especially since you have so much time to rotate before Storm really becomes a problem. Alright, the next factor to consider is if you have your mats at your POI or if you plan to rotate for them. And by mats, I mean whatever you can't get at your POI, which is generally going to be metal. Most spots around the map have wood and brick that you can farm off spawn. However, some spots do not have metal. I'm not super familiar with the map yet, but I mean, you can imagine a spot doesn't have metal, you have to plan for that on your rotate, which the disadvantage to that is there could be someone where you want to farm your metal who's going to stop you. Someone can stop you from farming your metal. You can get keyed at that spot where you want to farm your metal. There could be no metal left. Huge problems, but the benefit to a spot with no metal where you want to rotate for it is there's going to be less people there generally. People like to drop for their mats. While if you land at a spot with metal, you're going to be able to get that off spawn, but you're going to be at your POI longer, which means you rotate later, which means you're probably more likely to get keyed. It's really it's more so about finding. You want to have either a really consistent spot to rotate to for metal, or quick metal off spawn is the general advice I would give, because taking a long time to farm your metal off spawn, it's going to be it's not going to be good. You're going to get keyed, you're going to get held, all that bad stuff. Alright, and the last factor to consider for picking your drop spot is if you're landing on a win condition or if you are landing on just loot. So a win condition being something that's super strong in the season, that's going to win you games, and this season it's medallions, because the grapplers you can get anywhere. Really, landing on a win condition would be landing on a medallion. The advantage to this is you have a really, if you can win it, if you can get the spot, get the item off spawn, you're going to be super set up for the game to win the game. But obviously the downside is the spot's going to be majorly contested. You're gonna get third party. People are gonna key you for the item. But if you're a confident fighter, kind of like if you're a confident fighter for landing at a spot with a fair fight, if you're a confident fighter, you can go for the win condition. But for myself and a lot of people, I prefer if the win condition isn't insanely strong and necessary, like in this season where I don't think you need a medallion to win duos or solos games, then it's fine to not land on it. I mean, you'll be fine without it, right? I would personally prefer not to lose any games off spawn to playing for the win condition when I can just play all my games out with a good amount of loot and not fight a ton of people off spawn. So yeah, those are the five conditions I would consider when picking a drop spot. You can choose which one you think you're stronger at and pick a drop spot that plays to those strengths, and then work on the weaknesses while you're work on the weaknesses in the meantime, and that should give you a really good off spawn drop, and hopefully set you up well for the game. Alright, yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know any other topics you want to hear my thoughts on as a Fortnite player, Fortnite gamer. And yeah, alright, see ya.